week as well. So the question is, which team is going to take that? Beastcoast on the upward trajectory, Parabellum on that upward trajectory as well, until recently.
Yeah. It's weird because this is actually, funnily enough, probably the most even matchup that we have on the day between two teams, because this is such a tightly contested field that actually aren't that high in terms of where they rank on both attack and defense. Beastcoast is currently sitting at the moment in 8th place, and they are 8th in both attack and defense rating, and Parabellum is only just above them in both, 6th and 7th respectively. So this is actually a pretty dead heat right now.
All right, and on the Beastcoast side of things too, we want to definitely talk about the contributions that Sweater and Slash have been making, and maybe the team at large isn't super high in the rankings for attack or defense, but these players, in terms of their numbers, have been looking great, haven't they?
Back-to-back MVPs in Playdays 3 and 4. Sweater in Playday 3 running around with that LMG, but also I thought his C4 play was really impactful. The crossfires he created with the rest of his teams were great. It was just that they weren't afraid to push stuff. He wasn't afraid to get in the face of Space Station. He had a big game in Playday 3. And then Slash right after helped claw back a lot of man disadvantage rounds on defense that looked pretty rough for Beastcoast initially. He had some big moments with a big C4 clutch on Mute. That was probably the most highlightable one, but he also had some great play on Echo, had a really impactful kill in the very first round on Alibi, killing a player trying to drop the hatch and go for the plant. So he's doing a great job focusing down some of those players, and we've seen this big individual star talent from Beastcoast in both Sweater and Slash, and to an extent Surf in some games as well. But there have been some players that haven't been as hot statistically.
Right.
When you look at the supports on Beastcoast, they're very solidly supports. And what I mean by that is their rating, their stats, they don't look amazing. These are the two lowest rated players in the league that aren't a coach. So other than coaches that have subbed in, they're at the bottom, and they have been struggling in a kill performance. I will say, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Obviously, they're not necessarily dropping the best KD ratios, 14 and 33, 15 and 31, but I think Drip's calling's been really good. I think we've actually seen some really great plays from Anthony as well, being able to clutch that one round of week number 1 without firing a shot. I think these two players are smart, and they get the job done, and we can see some plants from them, but it is just going to take a little bit while for them to get some more kills on the board.
Yeah, and I will say, when you have players like Slash and you have Sweater who are just getting every kill on the map, it's really hard for your support players to even find kills to get because the round's already won. So what I do want to highlight here is especially Drip's play calling for executes, because when Beastcoast is winning, right now they have 7 plants, which I think is the top for the league. And of those, 6 were in wins, and they have then 10 attempts beyond that. So like for them getting into sight, when they're getting into sight and they're trying to hold F there to get the diffuser down, it's actually going into wins, and it's actually highly correlated. So being able to do that and continue to execute into the sites is something I want to see from these guys today on whatever map we're going to.
You might be able to corroborate this as well. It almost feels like sometimes Beastcoast, in spite of being execute-oriented, sometimes feels like they do some steps out of order, or sometimes there's some things that are missing. When we worry about these executes so often, there's a cross somewhere someone's missing, or a roamer that has yet to be cleared, or sometimes they're trying to make a push on site and vertical somehow is still open, but there's someone up there on the defense who has a roam very open for the possibility of stopping it before it can actually get to where it needs to go. So in spite of them having nearly as many plants as they do, the fact that they have that many attempts that have not been successful is also a bit of a cause for concern.
And to build off of that, there was that one play that I remember on Theme Park, I believe, where I believe it was someone was playing Blitz. I can't remember the exact.
Was it the DZ game, I think?
I think it might have been the DZ game, but and then I think it was Drip just ran in front of his Blitz player into sight, and there was a smoke down, and it's like, yes, you are Finka, but you are not bulletproof like the Blitz is. So I think right there, it's like when those moments happen, like being able to see Beastcoast slow it down and say, oh, actually, we should have just let the Blitz run in first, and then we Finka boost. That's the kind of uncoordination that we're talking about.
Exactly.
I will remind you, though, they won that round still, regardless of the plays that happened. That was round 11 against Space Station was at least one of the Blitz rounds that they rocked.
But it could be cleaner is the point.
Sure. I do want to say, though, I think that their week 2 pushes were cleaner than their week 1. I think we definitely saw improvement in that aspect. I was really impressed by how carefully they were clearing that 4th game on Bank. I really liked how slow and carefully they took the roam clears. So if we see more of that, I'm actually really excited for Beastcoast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be hyped about with Beastcoast, of course, and on the other side, we got Parabellum, another team that's had a lot of hype around it in Stage 2. That said, their last match was a 3-7 loss versus Dark Zero. Now, that was a little bit of Dark Zero being resurgent, but at the same time, the momentum has kind of been stalled for Parabellum now. So here's a big question, and I'm sure, as an analyst, Joe Bro, when a team stalls out like that, it's got to be extra work for the next one to make sure you get back on track. Right?
Oh yeah, so one of the things I want to talk about is every replay that we watched, even on the pre-show, Parabellum was always the team that was like getting out of their chairs and like screaming and screeching when they went around.
Yeah.
And like for a young team, that's absolutely going to happen. But what that does to you tempo-wise is it drains you.
Yep.
So like
Definitely.
when you look at DZ and how they're playing out these rounds, sure they're down 0-3, but Mint didn't even call a timeout because he knows that his team's calm, composed, and ready to play the next round and reset and let it go. Whereas Parabellum's going through these emotional peaks and valleys the entire game. So when they go down and start losing those rounds after round, they're never able to actually come back.
That's a great point. That was literally like on Cafe, Playday 4 against Dark Zero. Round 3, Blaz gets a 3K clutch. They are screaming across the stage. They don't win a round after that.
Like they just won invite
7
finals,
in a
right?
row.
Like they're just like going wild and having a blast for sure, but it does tucker you out eventually.
The only problem I really see with this team is it feels like they're the ones that get ahead of themselves more often than not. Sometimes it's good because it means they have confidence when they swing and when they take gunfights, and sometimes you probably don't want to worry about taking. When you let Gunner play his rat spots or when he's coordinating with Penguin in some way, it feels like it always has the possibility of working, but when it doesn't, you always criticize it for being like a chance they didn't have to worry about taking. Sometimes it's a really strange roam, sometimes it's moments where they don't have to get aggro, but they still do because they have that confidence, and it can be a double-edged sword. In most cases for Parabellum, in spite of having all that confidence, it does feel like they could temper it back a little bit, and if they did, they might even have like more rounds like in that Dark Zero game just to start with. You don't want to rely on individual performances, but they do in spades.
And to build off of that as well, like when you're a young team like Parabellum is in terms of experience, you want to be able to encourage your players as support staff to be able to take those fights, to take those engagements, because the last thing you want to worry about is them not having the confidence to take and win those fights, which will win you the round, which will win you the games. However, if you're looking at when you take those fights, you want to take those early, but you don't want to take them after you already have an advantage or a lead, because you want to be able to slow the round down, be able to talk to your team, and find out how you can play for trades rather than playing for just one-on-one gunfights. And I think that's the key I want to see from Parabellum going forward, is to build off of playing for trades in the late round when you already have the round basically won.
Yeah, it was a wake-up call. It's a fork in the road moment if you're Smitatius, the coach, right? You're like, all right, either we're going to get the momentum back, we're going to use this as a learning experience, or it's going to start kind of a downhill spiral. We don't want that for Parabellum, so we'll see what they can do against Beastcoast here, and we're going to see where they're going to have a chance to do it. Right now, here's the bands: No Bank, No Border.
All right, so Bank and Border, at least in terms of how these maps are banned, not very common for Parabellum to ban out. Let's see, how is this actually going? This is where I have to look. So Parabellum bans Bank, and that is fairly common for them primarily. And then we have Beastcoast banning Border, which is not as common, right around 10% of their bans usually.
Pretty common in stage 2, if nothing else.
Yeah, common in stage 2, but not in terms of like how they have to ban it because other teams are banning it for them. Then in the next phase here, Parabellum bans out Chalet. Looking at that, Chalet is not very high in priority for their bans. And then looking at Theme Park for Beastcoast, we have, it's around the same in terms of border ban rate. Clubhouse and Cafe to round us out here in terms of those bans. So we are looking at potentially a Villa, a Cafe, or no, Cafe's banned there, so a Oregon and Skyscraper, I guess. Is how, I would love to see Skyscraper.
It'd be crazy to see Skyscraper. I feel like we haven't seen that. Have we seen that on stage too?
No, that's the one map we have not seen yet so far in this entire stage, which makes it interesting. But Parabellum, for their own part, have decided they don't want to worry about it, which means Beastcoast have the choice between Oregon and Villa. We head to Villa, which is curious because it's a map that Beastcoast so far in stage 2 have yet to ban, and when they played it back in stage 1, it was that 8-7 loss to Dark Zero that really stood out in our heads as, hey, they can play this, but maybe they're a little bit too frivolous with how they play on defense. In this case, Parabellum is going to start on that side, and they did play it already in this stage, and that was where they beat Astralis back in Playday 2, and that was a pretty bad loss, because that was where we thought DP Fire would come back in and really give them a shot, but this is also Parabellum, again, playing on stage as opposed to online.
Funnily enough, both these teams dominated Villa last year. Now, unfortunately for Parabellum, that was in Challenger League, and for Beastcoast, they had almost an entirely different roster. So I think we're going to get to see in this game how that last year's success translates to the stage.
Yes, we will find out soon. But first, we got to find out what our predictions are. Oh, the first prediction of the week, always a good time. And let's find out, first of all, what our casters have to say. Blue and Stokes over there right now. Have you had time? You've had a lot of time to think about this one. We've had a whole week, essentially, since the last play day. So it shouldn't be very hard, right?
You would think not. And yeah, so that means I've got mine pretty much prepped and ready to go. I am feeling Beast Coast for this matchup. I feel like, that, especially with the map choice that it ended up going down to, I feel like things are going to get very chaotic inside of this game. And I feel like Beast Coast just has the slight edge when in those types of scenarios where games just get a little bit too chaotic for their opponents to manage. And I think they're going to come out on top because of that.
You definitely see that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
agree?
Beast Coast is definitely on their Joker arc right now. They just want pure, utter chaos, and I'm with it. I'm going to pick Beast Coast. You know, my pick rate's definitely fallen off of a cliff, so we're going to have a little bit of fun.
Wait, what are you at now?
Yeah, we're tied. It's last week was not
You're
good.
still
for me. I
better
fell
than
asleep at the
Jacob,
wheel,
so
but
you're fine.
We're going to try and rectify it this
I really don't like have much reason to talk right now, but yeah.
all of you guys did like basically terrible for like the first entire week, and I just equalized with you. So
a lot of pressure on Joe Bro later. He's either going to have 100 or 0 after this. You know?
Yeah.
That's some high pressure.
Hold on. We got to save best for last. We got to save best for last.
We will.
We'll get to him.
Won't go to him yet.
Yeah.
We're going to check back in with Blue and Stokes a little bit later as the map gets started. Thanks, guys. For now, it's time to find out what our analysts have to say. We'll start with you today, Jesse. What do you got?
Awesome. I'm picking Beast Coast. I love the Parabellum boys, but I really do think there have been some struggles on defense and that they've been a little over-aggressive. I think Beast Coast can capitalize off that. They had a great last week and that they're back. So, yeah, let's see some more cat ears. Let's see some more play from Beast Coast.
Headbands today, I guess. Jacob, what do you think?
I'm going the opposite direction. I'm taking PB with this. And that mostly comes down to how I saw Beast Coast play it last stage. I felt like this was the prime example map where if they would go for an execute, they would do it and leave a step or two out of order or try to force the issue before things were actually ready. And if they're this execute-oriented, somehow I feel like Parabellum on defense is the exact team to really kick them in the teeth today. So I'm going with the Canadians and that one French guy they picked up.
Oh, that is a bold prediction there.
I'll run with it, and if I don't get it, I'm below 50%. So I have a lot at stake here.
So bold prediction. Does that mean you're going Beast Coast then?
Oh, I am most certainly going Beast Coast. Okay. And so even though, so Parabellum is starting on defense for this?
Yes.
Okay, so Parabellum on defense right now, most defensive rounds played in the league right now. Win rates hovering around 50%, I believe. They are leading in opening kills and multi-kills on Blaz and Gunner. However, these rounds, when they get these big kills, aren't always translated into wins. So when these guys are getting big kills, big openings, those rounds are often going into the void. And what is a team like Beast Coast going to do, who I think actually looks like one of the most prep-forward teams in terms of VOD review? I think they look great on attack. They know what they're doing or trying to do. So I'm going to go with Beast Coast here because I think I trust them to be able to execute on the site, take advantage of Parabellum's weaknesses on defense here, and really run them through the map.
All right, so everybody but Jacob going Beast Coast at the moment, but there's still a force to be reckoned with. The force of chance. That's right, the coin is back. I didn't lose it this week. As we're going to go heads, Beast Coast. Tails will be Parabellum as per the graphic standards that we've achieved, or set rather. Whoa, that was a wild.
Almost
You caught it back here.
You got it. Yeah, that's right. I'm getting good at this. It's gonna be heads. Okay, heads will be the call. The coin says Beast Coast agrees with our professionals, except for Jacob, also professional, but picked differently. I said
That
in
is
terms of
tough.
agree. Come
That is
on.
tough.
You get what we're saying. What
He's
the fans
been here
say?
for 2 hours, dude.
What's the fan vote look like?
Ooh,
Parabellum.
That's what I was
I
expecting.
got Twitter on my side.
I was expecting
For
Twitter
the
to go
first
PB.
time ever, social media and Jacob joining forces.
Handshake emoji.
That cannot be a good sign.
It's not. It really is.
All right. Well, we'll see how this develops, but this has already been an interesting day. Yeah, it's going to be good. So that's that. Let's find out what our community poll is going into map number 1. It's who's more likely to drop 20-plus kills today. Any thoughts there?
I mean, it's Sweater.
It has to be, right?
Is he wearing the kitten outfit? Is the
He's
real
not.
question.
I saw
Not today.
Okay,
I think there's
so
a pink headband, but
it's kind of a 50-50 then in that
Yeah,
shit.
it is close. It is close.
It's kind of a question about who's going to get more on defense, and if Sweater keeps getting shut down, even though he's reading the entry properly when he roams, it actually might be Gunner, so we'll see today.
Okay, all right. Well, you at home can vote as well on Twitter, and we'll find out who's right, I guess, in the end. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, the first map of the week here on NAL. So don't go anywhere. Beast Coast versus Parabellum right after this.
I might rent the Lambo and go drive driving like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bare face. Now he's got a hell behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I balance to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time.
Hey guys, I'm Sweater and this is the NAL.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the North American League. It's time to get ready for our first matchup of the day. Bound to be a good one as well, given the way these two teams have been performing so far inside of Stage 2. It's going to be Parabellum going up against Beastcoast, and at least for me, I'm looking forward to this one, as it is bound to be a show. We're going to be going to Villa for our map as well. Lots of roaming potential to be opened up, and we know these teams love to play into that, so that means, at least for me, I'm expecting a lot of chaos inside of this game.
Yeah, both of these teams really enjoy using the whole map to their advantage, and that's what I'm really looking forward to here on Villa. You have the whole basement. The map just overall is very large. You know, there's going to be a lot of gunfights going on and a bunch of different instances, so it's going to be pretty interesting, I would say. And I mean, this honestly was a pretty difficult game to call as well. We were talking about it before we got to predictions, and it was kind of up in the air. You know, these two have kind of a similar style. You know, I would say Beastcoast is almost more risky in some certain senses than we see Parabellum, but you know, I think Joe Bro made a great point with the way that Parabellum's playstyle has been working out for them. They make some amazing moves and can really open up a round, but they just cannot close out.
Yeah, it seems like in a lot of situations them kind of trying more unique things, and while oftentimes they will work, they don't know what to do when it doesn't work to be able to actually take a round from it, so it's led to some issues for the team. Overall, there's still a lot of positives playing into this stage so far for Parabellum, so let's see if they can add another one to the list of things to be positive about as they look to get a victory here versus Beastcoast. Beastcoast going to look to challenge that, of course, as we are now live with the map, already seeing the first ban going up on the board as Maverick has been removed by Parabellum, and in a second, we're going to see Beastcoast's choice to remove Knock.
Quite the interesting choice for Hard Breach ban here for the offensive side. That's going to leave Thatcher open. That's usually what you'd see inside of that slot, but I mean, not having Mav here is basically just going to force the offense to use other things, really. Obviously not going to be able to have a counter or more or less have extra counters, rather, for the defense to actually try and get rid of some of that Hard Breach utility. Also, Azami going to be removed. We've been talking about how strong she's been over these last 2 weeks, and it's going to continue on into week 3, as well as Valkyrie still on this ban train. Nook will round things out for that offensive side, by the way, but that one making a lot of sense with how many times we've seen her not only utilized but also banned in these last couple of weeks.
Azami, we're likely going to stay on that purple ban train for quite some time. Valkyrie as well, just still way too universally useful, even with the outside camera nerf that came into play a few months ago, so we're still seeing her banned out every once in a while. I will say much less so, at least in recent weeks, with Azami taking the precedence to be banned out there. So either way, that'll get us through it and into the first round of play. Parabellum have the defensive edge to start things off, and they're going to go to the initially expected site of Aviation and Games. As far as their operator lineup is concerned as well, no huge surprise in this department. You've got a pretty even spread of utility here, both in the mitigation department between Eska and Balaz, the delay department obviously on the smoke, and to some extent Penguin, and then Gunnar just having kind of his own personal freedom there on the alibi.
Yeah, this is a really good lineup for, trying to hold space around the actual site and try and take some fights. You have some good ways to try and slow down the offense, not give them exactly what they want early on, also punish them for any pre-fires or anything of the sort with the Prismas. So also have that extra info coming through with the BP on Penguin. So overall, a pretty rounded off defensive lineup. For the offense, this is extremely straightforward. We're going to see Zero get worked in for BC. This is starting to become more commonplace for some teams for Villa. It's just always nice to have some extra flank utility, be able to get those cameras down and make sure that there's no one trying to sneak up behind you, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier on. Villa, quite the large map, and you always got to worry about those flanks.
Zofia alongside the Yana as well, usually one or the other, so a lot of entry power going to be showing up for Beastcoast as a result of that as well, split between Anthony as well as Sweater. Sweater, of course, going to be the go-to. We did see, of course, out in the arena, a quick little scan of the players. No cat ears today, so we'll have to see how well he's going to be able to perform with that disadvantage being thrown against him, but still, time will tell, of course, as we get through more of these rounds and see how Beastcoast are going to be prepared to play against Parabellum. Things actually fairly quiet as far as the first minute is concerned, though. Beastcoast mainly just clearing out the opening angles, not even actually taking a whole lot of control. Nearly a missed drone there against Gunner, but thankfully it does spin around at the last second, check him out, and force him downstairs into the living room.
Fortunately, it's not the slowest of starts for Beastcoast. They've made some solid progress, but Gunner's now taking down Sweater, which was that lower player we just saw inside of Memorial. With him gone, Beastcoast is going to have to try and force their hand on this top floor. Now, they got to worry about some things to clear across. They'll have the laser gate as well as the player around red stairs to worry about. This is going to require a little heavy lifting in the info department. It's going to be Blaz on the receiving end here for Parabellum. He's got a nice cross with Kool-Aid as well. This delay tactic could work out swimmingly for them, as they do have a couple of toxic babes to be able to mitigate Slash's position right here. So Mexcaros are going to try and apply a new angle to the top of red, but you can see how prepared Parabellum are. They're ready to just back off and try and play this out on time. And in fact, Blaz is going for a very deep flank at the current moment, all the way in the basement.
BC going to be opening up a route for them to be able to move through 90. Unfortunately, it will be challenged, but Slash doesn't have much to fear. As he moves forward, there's a drone supporting his position here, so he's going to have all the intel he needs as he continues to move down the hallway. Re-cameras up the 90 angle by chucking out an additional Argus here to give them a nice preview of what's going on down towards the end, such as the bookcase wrap as well as the bar doorway. Need to be chucked through the floor, but it's way off mark, unfortunately. Not a single point of damage going against the members of Parabellum as they dodge it outright. Slash, too, going to be forced out of his push down through 90, and Blaz will also find success from the defense, being able to take down Surf, bringing the Beastcoast roster down to only 3 players left with about 30 seconds remaining.
Beastcoast have been practically boxed out of the site, and it continues to work out for PB. Bloodshed after bloodshed for the defense, and finally they'll wrap things up with a bow. They have to give over one body, but Parabellum, they're looking spicy with this opener, fending off a lot of Parabellum, or rather Beastcoast play coming in from the Masters side. It was very slow moving. They eventually try and get something going on that bottom floor, but there's too much of a Parabellum presence, and they're able to take down the lone soul of Beastcoast, who have nobody even in the same zip code as a player in Memorial. Very unfortunate circumstances. Just BC from that point on kind of just let it sit on the timer and die out.
For all intents and purposes, though, basically a perfect round for Parabellum as far as the defense is concerned there. Yeah, they lose one player at the end, but it was pretty much a done deal at that point regardless. So for me, that's nearly a flawless one coming onto the board for our defenders. They'll, of course, lock that site away and now be able to rotate over towards the other upstairs hold here inside of Trophy and Statuary before they've tried to venture downstairs either into living room or kitchen before being allowed to go back up into AVG on round number 4. Need to get that far first, though, as Beastcoast going to be looking to make their own adjustments. Obviously not a very convincing first round, so we need to see what type of adjustments they're going to make, be able to make their impact much earlier on in the round as they struggled, insanely so, to do so here on the first.
Yeah, we need more of a spearhead from Beastcoast on any portion of this map. Whatever they're looking to take, they just need to be forceful with it. Parabellum had a decent amount of presence over on the Masters side, but they really wanted to fall off, and that was the big thing. If Beastcoast try and adapt to that kind of mentality and can potentially try and get some bodies in early there with the info that they gather, then there's a large chance that they could have gotten that kill early on. We could have seen that round break down in a completely different way, but obviously Beastcoast really wanted to stick to the windows and see if they could play the crosses there and see if they could possibly catch any of the Parabellum members off guard. But now for PB, Up one round, going into the second here as Beast Coast look quite similar to their start from the last round. Just want to try and work these outside angles and see if they can catch any Canadian off guard. But Surf, as well as a couple of other BC members, are on the Master side now as well, as they're going to discover that all of Master is clear, as well as Bathroom. Parabellum playing back more towards the side, especially for Astronomy, as well as Statuary. No one wanting to give up anything at the moment.
Yeah, once again, Parabellum giving us a very quiet opening to their defense, which has surprised Beast Coast at least to some extent here, as they're struggling to even find the positions of the extended players from Parabellum, let alone be able to actually take them down. It's been a big problem here for Beast Coast so far in the first 2 rounds, and it's continued to be a problem now as we go deeper into the second. Going to be looking to try and clear that out, but as you can see, some of these positions are a bit trickier to read into, such as Eska playing out down below by the red stairs here, and now Penguin going to be potentially trying to get aggressive against this Master hold, as we are seeing the wall get popped open, of course.
Oh, crucial shots from Drip, and he's taken down. The first bullet out of the SMG-11 is right into Drip's skull. And Parabellum pull ahead yet again, and look at this time. They've delayed so much. Beast Coast, they have like 0 presence inside of the building, except for Sweater down low. Has the potential for a kill, but the frag grenade, it's going to land on deaf ears. Fortunately enough for Kool-Aid, will be able to stay alive, but he's at a much lower deficit in HP. Start working his way towards the Astronomy stairs. Has one on the windowsill, and he'll be able to continue to delay with these smokes. No more frag grenades down low, no more depth charges available for Sweater, but it's going to be a dead Kool-Aid anyways from Bathroom.
These floor nades be working out well, considering the lack of movement from Parabellum, but no, not the case. Gunnar steals another member of the Beast Coast roster away from this assault now, and I believe stops most of the Astro pressure that was being put in as well. Indeed it does. Sweater is now down to the bottom of the stairs. Does not have the confidence to play towards the top of it any further here, and Parabellum, I believe, has retaken some of the control in that area. Indeed they have, and they're going to be able to press even further into Trophy here. The push coming back up through the stairs, but the shots from Blaz just not connecting where they need to. Anthony as well with a successful entry against Eska, backed by Trophy Connector, leaves Gunnar alone with only 5 seconds left, and Case down on the ground. He could still very easily win this one. Coming down to the wire, do they have the capability to take him down? No, they don't even have an angle. He shuts down Sweater, the only player that could have planted there, and wins out the round for PB.
Very well done from Parabellum so far. Able to just really slowly burn that candle throughout the round. Beast Coast, they're just stuck in the mud, all except for these dying moments where Sweater and Anthony really start to get active, but they don't have enough time to actually play out the remaining, parts of the round. No real chance to try and get the case. It's just in those dying moments where they practically have to put the case down immediately, and that's really not going to work out for them in that regard at all. So now Parabellum are going to be able to pull ahead by 2. Again, Beast Coast not really having an assertive point to push their way through the map. They're really trying to grasp a hold of the entire Parabellum strategy at once, and it seems to be seriously punishing them.
Definitely the case here. Beast Coast struggling to even get themselves any serious positioning near the site, let alone actually get the entries necessary to make that step forward here. How are they going to change it up? We'll have to wait and see, because now the play potential is going to be a little different too. Trying to work more of a top-down, as obviously we'll be on a kitchen hold this time from PB. It's a little bit of a different checklist that Beast Coast need to work their way down. That also means some changes needed to come in on the defensive side, and we have seen that, most notably in the cap can, now coming out from Gunnar, trying to capitalize on the fact that Beast Coast have been relatively inactive in the first 2 minutes of play, and then have suddenly gone for these executes more out of a necessity of time rather than anything else. Those are the types of situations where Capcan's EDDs are almost certainly going to find a target or two, and potentially in this case lead to a frag. So obviously now you can stack those on top of each other to do extra damage. Gunnar will strike true yet again, despite the fact that he's on the Capcan now. Makes an aggressive play forward and knocks out arguably the most impactful operator on the attacking side as Sweater goes down with the Finka.
Yeah, I'm sure any Beast Coast member would want to give up their lives for Sweater in this current moment. Kind of a get down Mr. President situation. There's push him out of the way and take the round for him, but very unfortunate circumstances have befallen Beast Coast. Fortunately enough, they'll be able to tag up Gunnar, but it's really not going to do too much at the end of the day. Even if he does kill him, the EDDs are still around. They'll still have to try and deal with that throughout the building. Explosive booby traps taped to every single door. But for Parabellum, they now just get to chill out. Really not too much for them to do at the current moment. Beastcoast are down a member, which obviously means that they have to try and get out of an engagement cleanly. And if Parabellum can continue to punish them, and they more than likely will. Oh, what a shot from Blaz. Nice recorrect there onto Slash, MVP of last week, but not MVP of round 3. So he'll get taken down. But Parabellum, more than likely good for a lot of these challenges, which makes them very scary. That's what Joe Bro was kind of touching on. Their mechanics are truly incredible, but just try and quicken the pace at current moments. It really punishes them. But now you can see the patience. Gonna back off and then re-challenge on red. Surf will be able to clean up Blaz, but down past that half moment now, and they're still ahead by 1. As long as they don't get punished here again by Surf, which is very close inside of living room, this could go pretty swimmingly for the defense.
Surf has been one of the saviors for the BC roster inside of these darker times for them, so he might need to be that player again here today, as he at least trades out the 1 loss from earlier, but is not going to be able to take things any further. Eska is able to isolate him out in a separate duel, removes him from play, and puts the advantage back safely in the pocket of Parabellum by bringing the man count down to a 4 versus 2.
Well, in this 2v4 via Beastcoast perspective, Drip's going to move in, but Kool-Aid's going to kill Anthony up top. Super unfortunate circumstances for Drip at the current moment. He does have an AK-12, so it's a pretty solid ground to fight from when it comes to his gunfights, but it's going to take a lot more than that to actually win this out. He's going to fortunately get the plant down, but Gunner's worked his way in behind him. I was just looking over to our third-person pop here to see where Gunner was, and in fact, he was nailing him right in the back of the head. It's going to be 3-0 from PB, and Parabellum, or rather Beastcoast, excuse me, really got to start to consider what's happening on this offensive side.
Yeah, a bit surprised that Drip was actually able to get the plant going, but thankfully that was just more of the nature with PB having their players still so spread out because of how much, again, unfortunately, they had shut down the play coming in from Beastcoast on that round, especially towards the front lobby there. We saw aggressive swings working out to take down not just 1, but 2 players right from the beginning of the round. That included the Finka as well, which means that all these other players that were trying to take fights where they were kind of chipping their damage down bit by bit, you no longer had the benefit of the adrenal surges to bring those players back up, and you lose the 2 nades as well. Just a really bad situation for BC. This pause here is absolutely understandable, as they really do need to recenter themselves and need to do it quickly. Otherwise, Parabellum is really taking control of this matchup right now.
Yeah, Beastcoast have been blown out of the water practically here so far. I mean, this is at the point where they can still recover. I really like this timing of the timeout, but there are some very serious things that need to change up on this offensive side, because it's been 3 rounds in a row of the exact same thing. Very slow, very methodical gameplay that Parabellum are allowed to exploit early on, and then they just wait for Beastcoast's next response. And what's their next response? Well, really not too much. They don't really go for an aggressive look or anything like that because they're so scared of losing another body and giving Parabellum even more inside of that round. And it's just a vicious cycle from that moment on, where it always ends up with Parabellum on top. So they really need to right their wrongs here and see if they can start things off on the proper foot this time around. Round 4, it's a clean wash. So they're going to switch things up. Habana no longer along for the ride. Instead, it's going to be the Rotero-wielding Flores instead for Drip.
Bit of a reprieve here for Beastcoast in the fact that they're at least returning to a site that they've attacked previously, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword because Parabellum have also locked it down on the last play, so they're going to be just as strong here and looking to improve on their own game.
So quite the interesting thing, really quickly, just to touch on. There's 0 hard breach on the offense at the current moment, and I mean 0 hard breach. When it comes to AVG, hard breach isn't necessarily a necessity with how a lot of teams play it nowadays, with this left panel broken, so you can get some nice, lines throughout the actual site, some good crossfires and stuff like that to work upon. But the big thing is that you can't abuse Gun Vault in the same way. And well, now Sweater with a pretty aggressive front to the bottom of main stairs, and it works out for him. This is honestly what we expected out of Beastcoast to start off this game. Not really the slow front, but I mean, it is what it is. They seemingly have soul searched and found themselves at the current moment, but we'll see if it works out.
See the second Rotero drone works its way in. Third coming in a moment also here. That one will be able to sneak its way by. Too far out of range though to deal any serious damage to Kool-Aid, so he's going to stick around here. Trying to defend this ADS more than anything. The shield up top has been lost, but he can still play into his current position and try to punish any direct entries that Beastcoast will attempt to make in the opening moments of the round. At the same time, with Beastcoast having full downstairs control, at least over here by the main lobby, they're going to be free to open up all the bottom to top angles they might need. Oh, this is such a huge play from Gunner though. Dropping down into Art Studio, grab grabs Surf away. Sweater keeping things even though for Beastcoast, and in this case, in control for Beastcoast. He trades out a second frag now, eliminates a second member of the team. Let's make it 3, but Gunnar gets the better of him and goes right back over to the cross by the front door to challenge for a 3rd kill.
That's exactly what you want to see out of Blaz. The adjustment from him to come down and help out Gunnar. Fantastic communication by the defense to set up that play, and now Beastcoast. I mean, yeah, they've had some pop, but there's no sizzle to it. Need to try and work their way through this bar fire, but Gunnar with a quad kill now. Give over the reins. He's 10-0-0. Unstoppable at the current moment. It's going to take Slash, one of the old heads of Rainbow Six, to try and shut him down in this 2v1. Dude, no stun grenades to do anything in this situation either, John. No smokes for the defense, so has some time, but it's going to require so much in this situation.
When did Gunnar even rotate upstairs again?
He just teleported.
That's what I missed. I missed that phase of this round, but either way, got himself into study, lined up the double kill. Slash is just stunted right now. He doesn't even know how to approach this at the moment. He's going to play it slowly, try to rely on his drone intel first off to at least figure out where Kool-Aid is going to be playing from in the site. Gunnar is repositioned again now out to the outside of Death's door. Looks like Slash is at least read into that rotation, but the timing has to be perfect here as he moves in, and it's just not going to happen. Gunnar completes the set for the ace and single-handedly saves the round and shuts down the BC roster along the way.
All right, Barry Allen, just bring it down a little bit, okay? That was some serious speed inside of that round from Gunnar. Amazing decisions there as well. I mean, the art studio drop, that's not something that you exactly expect out of any team on the top floor. You can expect people to try and play in that corner and maybe play for the drop as like a safe haven, and a lot of teams will figure that out and just play for the drop instead, right? But in that situation, they really didn't have a lot of information on study, and he's able to abuse that to the fullest as they're all so focused on engaging with main stairs that even when he drops, it's still quiet, but Yana still has a frag grenade out and is cooking it for main stairs. No audio awareness in that current moment, and a huge play from Gunnar allows him to not only clean up the 2 downstairs, but the rest of Beastcoast after their timeout. That's a death nail if I've ever seen one.
So Gunnar now with over 10 kills and yet to die as of the start of the 5th round here. It's continued to surge forward. An absolutely incredible game so far for PB here. They're looking to take it an inch further. The possible 5th round about to be lined up on the board if they can negotiate a second defensive trophy for themselves. And for the attack, they're also going to have to fall into some new things, specifically Surf as well, bringing the Thatcher into the fold to potentially deal with some of that utility behind the wall to allow them to open that up a bit more quickly and also allow them to get earlier pressure onto this site. That's been an area where Beastcoast have been struggling. Yeah, they've been able to eventually get positioning to leverage that type of pressure, but it's usually been far too little too late. And someone from Parabellum either lines up a flank against them by that point, or the members of Beastcoast just don't have the appropriate player power to get themselves in the site any further.
Yeah, Parabellum, for all intents and purposes, have practically fixed the exact thing that Joe Bro was talking about on the desk. They're able to make the big plays early and then slow down the gameplay and force this very grueling play style out of the offense. That is practically like trying to get blood from a rock. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're just going to sit there and squeeze for hours and nothing's going to come. So, I mean, for Beastcoast at the current moment, you don't really know what they're capable of. I mean, we've seen some nice engagements from Sweater, but past that, there's not really been a lot of noise from the BC roster. Parabellum, they've got some very serious map control at the current moment. Beastcoast, though, able to at least make some serious considerations downstairs, but what will that do here for Concrete? Is Penguin's worried about someone moving in for Master. He's going to pre-fire, but nobody's hopped in just yet. Have to worry about the rappel angles as well as the potential to have somebody try and work up one of these outside stairwells.
Beastcoast continue to play this so slowly, possibly in hopes of being able to avoid some of the earlier aggression. Bit of a misplay there from Eska as he's going to accidentally knock off the head of Penguin. The good news is Penguin hasn't really needed to contribute to this game yet. He's actually at 0-4 right now. So maybe not the end of the world for Parabellum losing him here. The main problem is going to be the lack of the Womai disc that he potentially could have generated, but he was probably close to the end of his rope on that anyway. So let's see now. Parabellum can bring it back from a 4v5, or if the deficit is going to hurt them severely, as Beastcoast now finally seem ready for their execute, but Anthony just leaves himself on the open there on the rappel. Kool-Aid making the rep for kill number 2 as well to take out Sweater. There goes the Astro play. Gunner in the meanwhile shutting down the direct contention towards the inside of Trophy. Slash will flash out and get a second kill here inside of Astro to take down Blaz as well. Now they need to retrieve the case, though. Surf will be able to accomplish that, get himself forward. Is this round still alive, being brought down to a 2v2 with 20 seconds left?
Gunner's going to start to move in, sees one inside a split, gets taken down from Concrete. Is going to be Surf with 2 as well. Slash Shug, he builds it up so his teammate can knock it down. Beastcoast finally clutch up for a round here. It only took him to round 5 to be able to get one on the board, but they'll at least be able to try for a 4-2 split here and slow down PB, who have looked so dominant throughout this entire defensive side.
Great read again there from Slash to be able to catch the second player creeping up on him from the bottom of Astro. He goes down. That's more than likely Parabellum still negotiating that 4v5 victory after killing one of their own teammates. Obviously got to look back at that now and wonder how things could have potentially played out differently if Penguin had survived up until the execute, but they gotta let bygones be bygones here and try to proceed forward. Still in a 4-1 controlling position. I doubt Parabellum are sweating that loss too much as they get ready to just rerun, I believe the same site as well, to try and lock things in here on the 6th and final round of the opening half.
Yes, indeed. They'll be headed back up to Trophy and Statuary to see if they can hopefully recreate their earlier success. Not exactly as successful on that last round, but Penguin's going to shift gears here and move on over to the Kaid instead. They'll be able to Electro Claw and lock the triple wall here for Statuary. It's going to make it to where Beastcoast doesn't have as strong of crosses that could potentially punish some of the Parabellum members playing inside of sight. And also, if you remember, pretty strong beginning to that last round from BC, but Parabellum able to fight back in a very assertive manner. Unfortunately, ended up dropping the round, but for Beastcoast, signs of life at the current moment. As we were talking about before, possibility of a 4-2 split as of right now. So for Beastcoast, not too much of a change up for them. Going to continue to keep relatively the same lineup as they have. Want to slow down this play and see if they can try and catch some of the Parabellum extended play here, but they've already dropped back for the most part. Penguin working his way towards top red. Like it doesn't have anybody inside the space. Actually, Gunner will be over here towards the other side of this player. I'll be playing inside of the vault, and so will Blaz. So Penguin more or less just holding on to this middle part and seeing if he can hopefully help his teammates cross at a later date, but has to worry about, obviously, that huge LMG sitting on this window.
Gunner still continuing to hope for an opportunity to make impact, and he might very well get it if one of the Beast Coast members drifts a bit too far to the left on their balcony hold outside there. Penguin can continue to maintain his presence at the doorway. Surf will actually take a heck of a lot of damage. Not sure where the source in terms of where it came from there, but might have been some of the damage being peppered out by Gunner from the other side. Either way, it leaves him at about 50% HP. Gunner with an opportunity there to take out one of his opponents, but unfortunately going to miss it. Has to fall back behind that. We're going to see this Electric Claw get knocked out. A new one will take its place. However, the Selma was right on top of it, so scratch that. It won't take its place, and the full Selma will actually end up going off because of that.
That's super unfortunate. Penguin able to land a shot on one of the drones that was circling his feet. Beastcoast starting to make some headway towards the site. Have to worry about the smoke play, but no longer. His Slash will take down Kool-Aid off of the peak. That's going to be the opening kill, but there's still a minute remaining for Beastcoast to take control of this site, but they have to worry about a couple of Parabellum members off-site as well. Penguin's gunning from on-site, though, and an aggressive look here from Gunner as well. 12-1 at the current moment, a 12-0 KD. That's quickly going to get swept under the rug from Sweater. Beastcoast are starting to decimate Parabellum. They really want the 2-4 so they can take control of the defensive side on an assertive note. Drip gonna try and end it all here after taking down Eska. It's gonna be Penguin with one with the Nitro cell, but he's got a long road ahead of him.
Penguin going to prioritize control over the connector first to get himself into the site, not going to allow him to deny the plant. Because of that, since it's going down to the other side, already taking some damage, he can't even find the source of it. Anthony from behind the desk inside of Trophy, going to be able to finish things off, lock in a second round for Beastcoast, exactly when it was needed as well. Things were looking bleak for this squad, but they are back in it with these slow-paced executes towards the end of the rounds for the final 2 rounds of play in the half.
So Beastcoast haven't exactly made it easy for themselves, but they've at least given themselves some breathing room. And I think that's at least something to notate for them at the current moment. The defensive side looks pretty strong as of right now, but obviously it's kind of hard to judge just with how dominant Parabellum were throughout all 4 of their rounds that they ended up picking up. And even some of the Beastcoast rounds weren't exactly amazing there. So past that, though, Parabellum now going to be on the offensive side, and this is where things could get quite interesting, and they're going to have access to a whole new arsenal of weapons that could really help them with more of the aggressive front that they were putting on with some of the early engagements from Beastcoast, but obviously they're going to be the driver of this ship this time around, the captain, you could say. So they'll be able to control the pace, and when these engagements happen, as long as they have the info to work off of, and they damn well should, as they're going to be bringing the Dokkaebi here for Penguin.
Yep, indeed. A bit of a heavier emphasis on the intel game because of that, to try and track down some of the more pesky members of Beastcoast as they'll be caught roaming around the hallways. No change from that either. It'll stick in play past the repick phase. In fact, no repicks coming out here for Parabellum. They stick everything that they had originally selected in the pick. That means we're going to have the Twitch from Blaz as well, and a few other fun things. Gunnar, of course, still staying on his main operator choice here of the Finka, as you would generally expect most teams to bring to bear in the current meta. Bit of a slow roller here, though. Parabellum not trying to storm in and take a serious amount of map control right from the beginning of their play, much like with what we saw from Beastcoast. They want to take this first minute nice and slow to make sure they're able to drone things out appropriately and then swing it for the eventual control.
Yes, indeed. Parabellum circling around the north side of the building. They found Sweater inside of Trophy, and he's going to start hightailing it towards the south end with Parabellum finally making their entry around Master. There's a mute jammer in the way, but that'll get picked up from Gunnar so Kool-Aid can continue his discovery through the building. Don't have much to talk about at the current moment, as it's really just the clear for PB. They want to try and get control of 90 and start progressing their way towards the top of red as well. Any pressure they can get from this back end is definitely going to be helpful, and potential to get a kill here inside of 90 as Slash goes searching for this drone inside of the hallway. He's going to take a lot of damage for it, but luckily enough gets off with his life.
Gunnar still moving forward, though, ready to take the challenge against Beastcoast, hoping someone swings the gun vault or pops up from behind the bar, but not going to be able to find it this early on. Still, though, in position with about 30 seconds, or rather a minute, I should say, in excess before he's forced into an execute. He reads the play coming from 90, though, after the Toxic Babe forces him off of Death's door. Hot Pink's coming in now to confirm the position of the other 2 players, but they're long gone from Beastcoast, as they do not want to move out the challenge. This already set position from Gunnar.
Parabellum taking their time again here with the lead-off pick. Gonna end up working their way towards the gun vault now. Gonna have some impacts out, but oh no, a frag grenade from underneath is actually gonna pick up that player. Drip's now down. Sweater picks up Blaz though, and Esco will fall, but Kool-Aid refrags onto Drip. Kool-Aid now down though, as Sweater's got himself a triple, but now another frag grenade from underneath. Gunnar with 2 big kills here, and a cleanup from Penguin. They're trying to get control of the case. They know that at least one player has to be in here behind the bar, but where is the other? Well, he's actually coming up main stairs at the current moment. A push-in play here from Penguin, but it's a nice shot here from Anthony. Not equal trades, though, back and forth, as Gunnar will finally be able to get to his teammate and assist in getting this kill. Surf now has to try and stop both of them, as the plant will go down.
Surf relying on his teammate previously inside of bar, thinking that they would be able to survive, and he might be able to make a play from down below on a flank, but no longer the case. He's had to push himself back into the site now. Doesn't have great intel on where the second player is positioned themselves either. Obviously knows where the planter's gone down at. He's going to get some great damage onto them as well, but the pre-fire is a little too late against Gunnar, so he shuts it down instead, and Parabellum lock in their 5th round as they take control of the first in the second half.
Very clean offense so far, taking their time and waiting for Beastcoast to just make these very aggressive plays. There's really no other way to slice it. Slash gets super injured with that initial engagement in 90, and once they smoke off Skull Thor, he then immediately contests 90 again. I mean, I understand filling your shot for the day, but when an LMG can kill you in 1 bullet at your current HP, it's not exactly your world we're living in. It's definitely the other person's. So, unfortunately, circumstances for Beastcoast as they kind of just get bowled over initially. They did fight back from a site presence though, but the big issue was too many bodies had already been lost at that current moment. So they're able to fight back to an equal point, but I mean, Parabellum are able to take control, and especially Gunnar with the way that he's been playing so far. I mean, they're just looking really, really nice at the moment in time. So we'll have to see if they can continue on this reign of terror. Beastcoast, not really with an answer, all except for the gunfights that we've been seeing from them in the dying moments of these rounds.
Parabellum just 2 to go here, and they're going to bring a very similar formula to the table for their second assault against the Beastcoast defense. Beastcoast will be bringing a little bit more mitigation this time around. They will ditch the smoke to be able to move on to a Maestro instead for Slash over there, as well as Sweater now having the confidence to go over onto the Alibi. Let's see if a bit more of an aggressive stance from this team is going to work out, at least the beginning of the round. It will. We're going to see a Nitro land right in front of Gunnar on the Finca as well, so removing one of the most influential operators from the play at the very outset of the round. That'll hurt Parabellum in the long run. We see them make up for deficits like this earlier on in the match, but that was on the other side, so this one might be a little bit too much to work their way back from. We'll have to see, of course, but we still have 2/3 of this round to go.
Yes, indeed. Either way you put it, huge consideration here for Parabellum going into this round with the lack of Gunnar. Just how strong he's been for them throughout all of these rounds. Now for Beastcoast, nice pickup here from Drip as he challenges and able to catch at least one member off guard, but Eska will immediately refrag, although very low on HP. Penguin now starting to take some heat of his own through the drone hole. Knows one's going to cross, and funny enough, Surf actually going to make it. And now, big pickup from off of sight as well, as Penguin's been downed, Eska's been taken out. It's all left up to Blaz. He's got a frag grenade to be able to clear this laser gate, but that's really about it. No drones to trying to throw anything into this, and you can also see just from his teammates that everyone's just trying to watch and see what happens. No real info to play off of, so he'll be dry peeking everything and seeing if he can just try and find himself any of the Beastcoast teammates that could actually try and take a gunfight with him, but just gonna drop down the hatch. Super unfortunate circumstances at the current moment for them, but fortunately enough for Beastcoast, they're able to try and stave off that match point as a frag grenade goes wide.
Gotta love the aggression that Beastcoast was showing earlier on in the round here, just making it so difficult for Parabellum to guess when exactly it was going to bust out against their holds, and as a result of that, left a lot of the Parabellum players guessing for correct timing and oftentimes choosing incorrectly, peeking into their own deaths, leaving this current situation alive and well with a 1v4 set before Blaz. So unfortunately, he was a little bit detached from the situation, trying to gather intel. Now, he doesn't really have a choice. He's been left alone here. Gonna have to try and make the play at some point. There we go. Finds at least one head. Able to take one off of Sweater there, but gonna need to get a lot more than that going. 3 more of them, in fact, to be able to still win out this round. Looking bleak as he gets himself a bit closer to sight, just trying to pop off what he can. There's number 2. It's starting to look a bit more realistic, but Slash brings us right back into the realm of reality as Beastcoast claim the round again.
Well, Beastcoast finally getting one put together on the defensive side. It was really the amount of kills that they were able to secure on Parabellum so very early on there. We saw a lot of aggressive fights there from Parabellum that Beastcoast were able to just strongly win out. And past that, Parabellum really don't have any consideration to try and do anything with the round at that current moment. The strong master take could have really worked for them, but it was just the amount of picks that Beastcoast were able to secure because of it. A lot of different circumstances there where Beastcoast were able to pull themselves ahead simply because of that man count, and just made it extremely hard for Parabellum to try and do anything with it. So now for PB, it's back to the drawing board, but they still have quite the cushion with these 2 rounds before Beastcoast catch up, only needing 2 rounds themselves to actually win this inside of regulation. But now, switching things up for their offensive lineup. They're going to drop the Twitch, and they're going to bring in the Yana. We've been having that, but obviously they're going to need some extra hard breach here with the Habana working her way in, and IQ to try and help out with a lot of different things here. The big things being the Yokai, potentially the Legion Mines, as well as Slash being on the Pulse. Now, this is a kitchen defense. We sometimes see this when it comes to the top floor defense as well, but either way, Pulse inside of this kitchen position is extremely strong. strong, just because of the way you can use the cardiac sensor on the top floor and see a lot of the repels going on this east side.
I've been seeing it a huge amount, at least inside of this stage. It was nice to see it brought out at least one more time here, but at the same time, with repick in play, it has opened up a window for attackers to be able to immediately counter this out with a situation like this from Penguin, where he's been able to pick into an IQ and pretty much find the immediate intel about when Slash is going to be searching for players down below there. I'm sure he's already been able to figure that out, but knows that things are currently safe, so he'll move in towards Walken with the rest of his teammates, I'm sure, just a few steps behind. You can already see him, too, trying to get into that little bit of a micro duel with Slash down below. They'll try to pepper the shots through, but he's got to do it from the pistol to obviously keep vision against Slash. It's a bit of a crapshoot, and unfortunately, is not going to be able to make any mark early on here.
Nitro cell out, but it's going to go wide for Slash. Able to do too much with it, but obviously can still play for the info that he has. Frag grenade out. Only going to do a very minuscule amount of damage to the Pulse player. Kool-Aid's going to work his way in and begin setting things up for the actual site execute. They still have a lot of time, so this is mostly him just doing this premeditated, making sure that they can work their way in when they are able to actually fully wrap around this site, start for their execute. Gunnar trying to look for a pick off of the actual site. Drip taking a lot of damage. He's going to get caught off guard, I do assume, from two different angles here. He's going to get tagged up from another one and actually run into the LMG of Gunnar. Now Surf trying to take a gunfight of his own. Slash is almost going to get taken down, but unfortunately for Eska, he's going to run out of bullets in the moment.
Just not, unfortunately, able to get that one additional bullet going on the Slash that would have taken him down and given Parabellum probably a comfortable enough advantage to swing in. Look at this play from Sweater, though, building up a lot of what we were seeing out from Gunnar in the first half, but he's going to be red prematurely here. They see him coming from the outside of the red connector. Still going to try and make the play. Of course, he's here, so why wouldn't he? But at the same time, his teammates inside of the site, they're going to need some help, and Sweater is going to be able to give it. He counters out the counterflank from Eska, taking him down, and now getting himself ready for a re-entry into the site as Parabellum are taking control, but Surf along with Sweater are taking it right back. Surf picks up the double. Sweater, that's a bit too bold there, as Gunnar more than ready for the play inside of Bicycle. He counters it out, and Anthony now shuts down Blaz, leaving Gunnar on his lonesome here to clutch out a 1v3, but very realistic clutch considering two factors. One, he has the case in hand already, and two, look at Slash and Surf's HP. It's got to find Surf before he can make it get done, though, and unfortunately, Surf just cannot be contained in this round. He goes huge and locks in another one for Beastcoast.
Beastcoast are prepared for war when it comes to their defensive setups. They look so dastardly inside of these last two rounds, making things so difficult for the Parabellum squad, especially with these flanks that they've been able to pull off. That top floor was never safe for PB, constantly being contested over and over again, whether it be through nitro cells or actual gunfights. They eventually end up losing out because of that. Beastcoast once again able to negotiate for a pretty considerable man advantage that PB are not allowed to play back from. And I mean, for Gunnar's sake, you really got to be considering how much effort he's been putting into this game so far. 18-4. The closest member of the entire team is Blaz, and he's 6-8 at the current moment. Just no one doing it quite like him.
Problem is, it creates a very top-heavy scenario here, especially on the attacking side of a game like Siege, where, as we've seen at least one time, Gunnar ends up going down. The rest of the team is struggling to make the same level of impact there, so they really need to try and keep him alive. I will say, however, at least the one round where I noticed him getting picked off earlier on in it, we still saw Parabellum able to keep up a good fight and at least bring it to an end point, but still, I think we had like 2 to 3 members of Beastcoast alive, so I think that my point still has some validity here. As we get into the round and see what exactly Beastcoast, or rather Parabellum, can bring to bear here to try and finally get that 6th round onto the board.
Thought we were going to get something cheeky out of Sweater there as he was sitting in the basement awaiting the arrival of a Parabellum member. And he's actually going to get one. Penguin is at the bottom of the wine barrel at the current moment, trying to see if he could try and find anything cheeky. Oh, big peeks here.
No!
Oh, no! Penguin, you're dead, my friend. Oh, how unfortunate. Slash takes him down. Such an aggressive front from him, but it pays off. A massive way, takes down the Jackal. Now the info game for PB has been hamstringed.
Definitely a standout game so far from Slash, by the way. The early round impact we've been seeing from him is second to none in terms of contributions towards Beastcoast here. Some really good stuff to keep the team in the fight or put them ahead right from the very beginning of the round, as we just saw there with his move inside of the basement. Gunnar trying to keep up with the rotations, and Slash specifically as he finally works his way through Death's Door to get back into the site. However, as you'll notice here, Gunnar unfortunately a little bit too late to be able to act upon that. As he moves himself forward, is going to be able to get himself inside. There's nothing to indicate this. So much intel bleeding over to Gunnar as well. He'll catch the movement outside of Gun Vault, but is not going to be able to solidify the kill versus Drip, meaning he needs to now go back to the outside, where he'll have a safer position to maintain.
Still has 2 frag grenades, so he could end up chucking one of those towards Vault soon, but I love his positioning at the current moment. He knows that there has to be somebody playing around the top of main. He's going to find one, but as you know that there's a second, does check it. Again, that secondary utility could be extremely helpful for him at the current moment, but obviously they're going to have some utility in the way of that. And actually on second glance, no, they don't, but it's not going to matter as Gunnar's going to go down. Anthony will be able to take him out. And once again, 2 big kills for the defense here on Villa. It's been the name of the game for both of these squads thus far. Sweater with a pretty cheeky one here. All the way from Study. Might be able to catch the head of the Habana, and he will. Kool-Aid goes down. That's going to be case control as well. And Beastcoast with such a strong round 10.
PB just way too slow with the follow-up there for Gunnar's position. Gunnar getting so much free real estate, but just zero support while he was inside of that position, even playing his study game out there so carefully to avoid being pinched out by the numerous players from Beastcoast that were holding against him, but again, just never got bailed out of that situation, so the team now loses that advantage. They try to get it back later on in the round, but it just does not work out. Beastcoast shut it down flawlessly, in fact, to now tie the game up at 5-5, and Parabellum are understandably so going to trigger a timeout as they need to resync on a few things here.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Parabellum's strategy for their offense hasn't really been working. They've just had way too much damage dealt to them in a lot of different instances. But I think the thing that we really need to talk about is that last round, because that one was very, very different in comparison to the others. And the big part being all of the space that Gunnar was allowed to grasp a hold of and the way that we didn't see them play off of each other. Exactly what you were talking about. The timing there is extremely unfortunate for PB because of the amount of time that Gunnar spends not only in the actual site, but also over inside of Study. It's practically 30 seconds, and that's so much time for PB to begin working their way over. And I think the thing that's even more frustrating about most of it is that they were really, really concerned about taking control of a lot of different portions around the outside of the actual site, like 90 in the far hallway and stuff like that, when all they really needed to do was hold 90, get somebody on the Study window, and start looking for plants inside of that area so that they can actually try and use what they already have a hold of. They all have to try and challenge out the Finka. There's a lot of different ways that the defense have to try and play that out if that situation is presented to them, and it just makes it super frustrating for them. So for Parabellum, I really don't understand why the timing was so poor there, but obviously you can always go back in the VOD and try and figure it out with some of these, third-person point of views. But either way, the circumstances literally look like just very unfortunate timing by the offense. It's really not in sync and able to capitalize on their lead fragger.
It's not like the team had a lack of intel either. Gunnar had seen 3, if not 4 members of the opposing team, so you would think at least that PB would have had a pretty good grasp on the situation that Beastcoast were trying to throw out and would have had confidence to execute, especially considering Gunnar's position, but just did not end up working out. So unfortunately, they end up losing the round, at least in part because of the failure to support that position. Let's see, though, how they try to make up for that, as obviously Beastcoast will continue to rotate around their own sites, now back to their secondary one upstairs here as they look to take control of the trophy and statuary hold for a second time.
Well, Beastcoast is going to have a decent amount of mitigation as well as info gain here with Slash back with the Evil Eyes and Maestro. EMP's in will allow the Selma charges to go down, and obviously just mute jammers, so it should be a straightforward affair when it comes to getting these walls open, and it will be. Evil Eye obviously disengaged there as the EMP went to that right-hand side, so won't be able to try and slow anything down, trying to work its way through the now new opening the wall or anything, at least for a couple of seconds. So might be able to get some extra drone info in there, but obviously PB are trying to take their time and make sure that they are able to get this opening frag as they work their way in towards kitchen. There is 2 bogeys in the area, one over on Astronomy Stairs, and another one near red, as it's going to be a re-challenge here from one of the SS say S-Ops on defense. Oh, some nice shots here from Sweater. He's actually going to knock Blaz to 50% HP. Oh, with that little burst out of the MX4 Storm.
Blaz will not be happy about that for obvious reasons here, but nothing he can really do about it. Actually, there is something he can do about it. His Gunners managed to maintain his life a little bit deeper into the round this time, so possibility we could see the Adrenal Surge come out, considering he's the only one that's taking damage. Oh, the timing for Penguin, though, as it brings him back up, as Stokes mentioned there. He went into a down state for a split second, but he was also down in the middle of the Adrenal Surge animation here. Surf just casually walking through Kitchen finds at least one member of the opposing team, and is going to Toxic Babe off the push from upstairs here. Team support's rolling in as well. They've downed out at least 2 members of this assault. Penguin, though, fending off some of this aggression, keeps the hopes alive for Parabellum. Unfortunately, he's now the only one alive here in this scenario for PB. Sweater has taken down Kool-Aid and confirmed him, and as well, Penguin unfortunately missing the transition here from Surf to get to the top of Astro. Stairs means that the last kill is free also, and Beastcoast lock in another one. They've completed the comeback, and they have one opportunity to shut this down in regulation.
Oh, the mental of Parabellum has to be tattered right now. Right when you had that little inkling of, oh man, are we choking this away? That's when everything just starts to go downhill. So we could be seeing Parabellum spiral at the current moment as Beastcoast take control of this game 6-5. Parabellum, they're not going to be switching things up too much. Penguin will be bringing back in the IQ to try and fight for kitchen control and try and fend off Slash like we saw last time, but it doesn't really matter if Parabellum can't shut down a lot of these mid-game plays that we've been seeing from the Beastcoast defense, then this round is more than likely BC's. This is very, very scary for Parabellum at the current moment, especially with the amount of just playmaking moments we've seen from Beastcoast so far on their defensive end.
Downstairs hold from BC, but they are also going to flip up. Never mind, they are not going to flip up the site. We just had the map upside down, and I did not catch it. So it's going to be Kitchen here for Beastcoast as they try to lock in the same rotation they went for previously. Now, they did lose one of them on the previous rotation, but that was upstairs in AVG, so not going to be relevant for this site. Parabellum has yet to win this attack here as they'll go for it for the second time, so they're going to have to hope that they've got their wits about them as they look to close out on a much-needed round to still keep their hopes of a victory alive. As you were mentioning just a moment ago, Beastcoast being able to flip this back, the odds are very much in their favor right now. It would be a huge shame for Parabellum to walk away with 0 points from this game after getting an absolutely incredible start to it back at the beginning of it.
Absolutely. Parabellum, you got to remember, they started this game off 4-0. 4-0. We currently sit a 6-5 scoreline, and I mean, really early on, I was feeling terrible for not picking Parabellum, especially with how Gunnar was playing, but it's just slowly weaned itself off.
It's also important to remember how important the points are in the current status of the league. Obviously, it's going to change again when all the other matches are played, but the winner of this game will move from either 7th or 8th place, if I saw the board correctly earlier, all the way up to 2nd. And like I said, that'll kind of revert itself, but still, that just shows you how close the league is. The trades start to roll out here. 1-1 to begin things. Surf is able to keep the contention even for Beastcoast, but at a pretty heavy cost to his own HP. So PB, to at least some extent, winning out that trade as they also are able to take down Slash, which means the info drip on the top down is now going to stop.
And they're not going to have access to the Adrenal Surges, but this is definitely a round that they can clean up. It's not detrimental just yet. Anthony going to start working his way up the stairwell. Penguin here, no refrag, obviously, so he'll skimper off so very quickly. But Sweater, he's taking his time. He's got the secondary out. It's ill-advised. This Penguin will take him down. Blaz will try and get some extra info, and it's down to the site players of Drip and Surf. Remember, Surf is on very low HP. Blaz, quite low at the current moment. They might try and reconcile with this situation and pick him up, though, as he's been frost-matted. No one's more than likely going to challenge into this, so this should just be a reset for Blaz, as there's just so much time. Beastcoast don't want to go searching just yet for PB, as they could be really, really punished by a cross that they're not suspecting.
Quick pickup there onto Blaz to save his own life, and as you said here, BC just a little bit too scared to play out this situation aggressively there, especially when you consider the time factor. Drip as well, constantly drifting out into the open. This could be dangerous for him if the timing does not work out. Flash dumps are going to land pretty strongly too, so much so that looks like Surf wants to get himself out of this scenario. They at least get a bit of a slowdown on Penguin, and the fact that he's got to take a step back to pick up a goo mine from off of him there, but Surf will grab the first. Drip gets the second. Plant now down, though. They've missed the position of it. Kool-Aid's going to be able to surprise. He swings out. He gets the first kill for free. Does he get the second as well? No! no, Surf will be able to deny it, and that's going to be Beastcoast completing a massive comeback down all the way from 0-4, winning it in regulation at the end of the game, 7-5 in their favor.
Through 8 rounds, Beastcoast allow but 1 to Parabellum as they clean it up. Parabellum looked so very strong when it came to their defensive end, but we get to the offensive side and everything shuts down. There's no wind in the sails. Even Gunner not playing up to his own expectations, and for all intents and purposes, Beastcoast dominate them when the sides switch. BC fully on top and fully in control of this series. Amazing stuff from them across the board. Some amazing plays there from Sweater, Surf. I mean, Slash getting in there as well. Drip kind of having a quieter day, but a lot of really solid calls from him.
Surf once again being the rock that saves Beastcoast in some of their more desperate scenarios, even in that first half as well, bringing the team back from the brink at least one round that they were able to negotiate for themselves to still keep the second half workable at a 2-4 scoreline. The end result is what most of us expected to see out of this matchup, just not necessarily the way we thought we would get there, as Beastcoast do indeed win this out as the majority of us predicted, but weren't expecting to see PB get such a strong start that would go unresponded to for so long. Either way, that closes out our first match, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us, though, as we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your analysis desk ready to break this game down.
Beat by Apollo, stop at New Apollos. Cop a Henny sour and I'm puffing Jack Sour. Yeah, I feel a black power. Yeah, this time it's really ours. It's time to get the bag. Yeah, it's time to get the bag. Yeah, yeah. Dollars coming, let me see it. Multi-million, I'm a bid. On a mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Multi-million, I'm a bid. On a mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Ask for it, you receive it. Got it locked, put the key in. Got them looking, yeah, they praying. She like, I like what I'm seeing. Now we up, they agreeing. Play full, yeah, we eating. Now you can't ignore this feeling when you got it from him seeing. Why these be your den? Find love, why you cheating? She know that I'm never leaving. They want beef, but they vegan. I don't know why they on that. Get a pack, then I roll that. She got, tell her throw that. Start her on, it's a throwback. Just a straight roll, I don't even pay tolls. The boy a genius and I ain't talking yay, though. Been a living legend since I was like a day old. I remember days though, listening to J. Cole. I remember days though, listening to Drake though. Had to up my profile, had to up my payroll. Getting too high, yeah, you know I had to lay low. Getting too fried, eating on some big dough. Yeah, I came through and you know I had to make do. Yeah, I came through and you know I had to make do. Getting all these dollars, yeah, you know I had to make them. Yeah, I came through, yeah, you know I had to make do. Beat by Apollo, stop at New Apollos. Cop a Henny sour and I'm puffing Jack Sour. Yeah, I feel a black power, yeah, this time it's really ours. It's time to get the bag, yeah, it's time to get the bag, yeah, yeah. Dollars coming, let me see it. Multi-million, I'm a bid. On the mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Multi-million, I'ma bid. On the mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it.
I'm dipping in the corner in something important. I'm copping the land, the same with the shores. Beautiful women who time in the mirror to show up the shows and see me perform this. Used to ignore me, I'm all the day here, but I used to be timid. I don't know what fear is. Just taught him my dog and he told me he got me. I hopped up the line and went straight to go get it. I got us. Building this up out of mortar and brick. The way that it's going, I don't see it ending. The pigment is tinted. I'm really that. Go figure. I'm tapped into a higher power, feeling bigger than me. It's centering me. My enemies silent, they see that I'm fire. Can't put my energy. I got some real ones on my sideline, abiding by them guidelines. I'm way up near the skyline. You so barely fine, right? Only kings around me, others go now. Why I shine bright? Yeah, you hella fine, right? Hey, you looking like the wine and dine type. I'm basking in that limelight. Brody, get your chip stack. I'll teach you. I'm the wise guy. I'm getting right back that shit I'm sending out with vibe-wise. You know we good on this side.
I feel a black power. Dollars coming, let me see it. On the mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Ask for it, you receive it.
Like glue.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League, everybody. Doe here, along with Jesse Jacob and Joe Bro. That's right, our special guest analyst from Sonics, joining us here at the desk, and joining us in Las Vegas is none other than Drip from Team Beastcoast, fresh off their win versus Parabellum. We'll get to that in just a moment, but before we get there, wow, that was another match that Parabellum had that seemed to kind of slip through their fingers, didn't it?
It was 3-0 against Dark Zero, and it was 4-0 against Beastcoast. You know, they're getting there.
Yeah.
Next 5-0, next will be a 6-0 throw, and then it's a 7-0
By
win.
the end of the stage, they'll win one.
Exactly. You can't throw a 7-0 at least.
Yeah, one of the things I want to talk about specifically for this matchup was the opening kills. That they were very influential into determining the round. I think there was only one or two that didn't go the way of the person getting the opening kill to winning the round ultimately. So the teams that were getting that pick early were the ones that were often coming away with the round win.
True.
They were great on defense, and then they switched sides. What the hell happened? What was it? You had one semi-decent attack, and everything else from that point completely fell apart. Were you in your own heads? Were you asking yourself, like, how much further you have to push yourself to actually win the darn map? I don't get why we see such a massive streak. You're doing really well. You're letting Gunnar do what Gunnar does. Man nearly had a 20 bomb today, and then you switch sides, and that happens. Is it a mental thing? Did you get too far ahead of yourselves and think the game was over before it actually was? This is the second time in 2 games that you've had a massive lead and then let almost every other round afterwards completely slip through your fingers. This Parabellum team, from a maturity standpoint, I genuinely want them to do well, but I'm not seeing a lot of longevity for the squad given the way they're playing currently.
Let's look at what the numbers have to say.
I mean, come on. Gunnar drops 19 kills. The community poll question was who gets to 20? Nobody got to 20. Gunnar was on Gunnar was on his way there. He was on his way to like 30 if they had kept up that pace and somehow still made it to 12 rounds. Unfortunately,
great solo performance.
Yeah, I mean, Gunnar did great, and I think that kind of comes into that like beginning couple of rounds, right? Gunnar started off this game fantastically. 12-0 was a stat line initially, and you know he was getting those opening picks that Joe was talking about. They were actually converting those opening picks, which you know Joe talked about maybe being a question mark for PB at the start there. But I mean, it worked out for them, and he was like getting so much impact there. But unfortunately, he just couldn't pull it through to that second half.
And one of the things too about this that I see is like, again, it looked like a 4-0 start for Parabellum here, but then very similar to what we were talking about before from a like tempo and maturity standpoint, it's just these rounds are getting away from them, and they had that high energy in the beginning of the game, but then it tapers off, and then when it's gone, it's gone. So like they need to work on maintaining composure and making sure that they're able to bring these rounds back one at a time and just say, next round, guys, next round.
Exactly. Well, we've got some more insight on that coming from one of our winning players. Now I've been told we have Drip standing by in Las Vegas to chat with us a little bit about that big win over Parabellum. So you got it. It started off a little bit rough there, Drip, but I was curious, what was the moment during the map where you felt like, okay, now we've got this one?
We felt that from the first round. If you check the scoreboard, it was a 1v5. As much as this pains me to say, we actually had to shut down Gunner because I think he's a terrible player. But we knew what we had a problem at the beginning of the game. The problem was shut down Gunner. Again, it puts a bad taste in my mouth to say that, but we shut him down and we won the game. And Jacob, to add what you were saying, I don't think their defenses were any good. Our attacks were piss poor. Those guys were just nothing special. I mean, it was a 1v5, so.
Well,
luckily, the 5.
So I want to jump in there and ask you then, Drip, how do you go about like calling these executes and working with your team, especially when you're having those rough attacks? How do you go about resetting the mental and helping your guys be able to just slow things down and attack the site and try to get the bomb down?
I mean, we just tell ourselves like look who we're playing. We're playing Parabellum, so just take it slow. You know, they'll peak, and the cards will fall into place, and they did. I mean. It's not hard to read a team like that, you know, though I'm sure DZ felt the same way. They get a couple corny, cheeky rounds they shouldn't have got because they had some lucky plays by Gunner. But at the end of the day, you just shut that down. And like I said, even though we won 7-5, it really, like once we dialed in, it felt like 7-0. It was not that hard.
Drip, they kind of had like the pacing advantage. Gunner was like really taking that away from you at the start. But towards the end, you guys were making moves. You were kind of gaining control of sort of the initiations there. I want to talk about round 11. We saw Surf drop the Master Hatch, then go flank down inside of Kitchen. Was that something that he just saw the opportunity for because they weren't entering in and he made that play? Or was that something that you were calling for and asking for, or somebody else on the team? What were the comms like there?
It was a little bit of everybody. Anthony or / whoever was the Deer player said they're nading below. I said, okay, I'm bottom brown. I can come up and flank, and then the show's like, I'm going to drop, and then I said, okay, drop, and then we just basically were ready to double peek him. But again, it was Gunner, so it doesn't take two to take him down. And Surf shotgunned him, I believe, and then we just won the round. I mean, it was just one of those plays that kind of falls out and happens as the round goes on.
You called your own attacks piss poor. Why do you think that is behind the scenes?
We knew what they were going to do. We knew Gunner was just going to run around with Alibi. I know that's a very skillful play and skillful operator, but we kind of knew what he was going to do. We just kind of couldn't shut it down in the beginning, and then we just took a deep breath. We said, okay, this is what we have to do. Just calm him down, you know, just stop him in his tracks, and that's all it takes, really, just deep breath, because game's not over till it's over. Except if you're Parabellum, then they think the game's over.
Yikes! Wow. All right. So some harsh words for Parabellum, obviously. And the confidence obviously has been a big part of Beastcoast. You know, going through your own persona for sure. How do you kind of like reconcile that in the moments when things aren't going well?
I mean, you got to be confident. You got to believe you're the best team out there. Doesn't matter if it doesn't matter who you're playing. You just gotta believe everybody's here for a reason. This is one of the first stages, I believe, every team, and everybody makes fun of Mirage, but like every team can still compete, and it's just like it's a best of one. You just gotta be confident in you and your team's abilities and dial in and close it out.
All right, fair enough. Well, congrats on the win today over Parabellum. Thanks for joining us as always. It was a fun time talking to you. Good luck with your match tomorrow, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, everybody. Drip, being Drip for the interview as usual. But hey, you know what? I mean, when you win like that, you can talk a big game. And to a certain extent, you know, he was right. I mean, Parabellum clearly are having a problem now when the momentum is gone. The momentum is really gone for this team. But before we kind of talk about that a little bit, let's talk about round number 7, because that's when things were still going pretty well here and there for PB.
Yeah, this is a big Gunner round, and I wanted to highlight this round specifically because it's one that I don't know if Gunner really got enough credit for. Gunner actually impacts every single one of the kills from this round. So he starts off kind of down below, over by 90, gets the opener onto Slash with a nice big swing. Great from him to be able to start that off, and then we see him kind of go below, and he's going to try to make an impact down from the bottom part of this round. And he technically only shows up for 3 of the kills in this round, but you'll watch as this goes on how he's going to be able to translate this into 5 full kills, 4 through the scoreboard. So, of course, he's the Finka. He's got those nades down below. His objective right now is to make that space. Kool-Aid actually gets the down, but you can see there are nades kind of being thrown up. He is helping out to try to get the damage in onto Drip, open up some angles. create some space, and he does let Kool-Aid finish that one off. So that's the one he doesn't technically get credit for. There's the third, shutting down Sweater, who was down below and causing a lot of problems for the team. It's another one that somebody else is going to be able to get a cleanup on, but you can see credit 14 up on the top right for Gunnar, adding on to his total. And then these last two will come both in the push and the post plant. Gunnar working so well with Penguin, who also had a great time this game. Penguin gets very far forward, gets so much damage, but of course, Gunnar's there to finish it off. Nice little pinch in while Penguin's distracting. And then as his plant goes down, Surf, not playing maybe amazing in this 2v2, but will come back in and Gunnar's going to be able to shut him down as well.
This was the one time I looked at the Parabellum attack and I'm like, I like the creativity, I like the effort, I like the coordination. The only time I really had a problem with it was when Penguin makes that final push through Vault almost by himself. Felt like Gunnar wasn't in position to find Anthony as he's coming back around the bar. Looked good for Parabellum. And that was the only time attacks looked good for Parabellum in any sense of the word.
Well, and if you also want to elaborate on that as well, because if you look at it, how they're enabling Gunnar throughout that entire round, it's like you want to be able to build up this young player and give him the confidence in order to take those fights and win you the round. But they just need to be able to piece that together overall and say, when he has the lead and we have kills on Gunnar, we can convert this. But again, it comes down to slowing it down, keep enabling Gunnar, but find the ways to actually finish and close those things out so that you aren't losing the tempo the entire time.
Right. Well, our next rounds were when PB had lost that tempo by then, and Beastcoast had definitely kind of taken over. It's rounds 8 and 11. We're going to slam them together because there's some interesting movement stuff from Beastcoast's side. I think we're going to talk about Surf a little bit as well. That made a bit of a difference in those rounds and helped BC swing it back to a win.
This was just an example of what I talked to Drip about in the interview. This is Beastcoast taking that pacing back in their own control. Drip has already gotten a kill so far in round number 8. He got the C4 pick onto Gunnar, and then he gets another one, swinging the doorway with the SMG-11. That's one of those bold plays that just starts things off on the right foot for Beastcoast. Shows that they're not afraid of Gunnar, they're not afraid to shut him down, and that's exactly what Drip was talking about in the interview.
True enough.
We also have in the next round coming up in round number 11, we'll see that it's another play where really it's Beastcoast trying to take advantage of Parabellum's real stallness coming through and real hesitation to get into the actual sites. Here it is now on round number 11. Watch the drop down, right? They haven't gotten into Master at all this entire round. Nobody has entered Master, yet still Surf dropped the hatch and went for that whole flank through Kitchen. Didn't see him coming at all and got that opening pick. So again, it's taking that momentum, it's taking the initiative and really bringing it to Parabellum. And when they start off on such a back foot like that, it's been very hard for PB to try to claw around back.
You know, and beyond all this, there's still one player we have to talk about a little bit more. I mean, Gunnar, even though he was on the losing side today, still one of the best, I think, individual performances we've seen in Stage 2. And it's got to be tough, right? I mean, when a player, well, what do you have to say about this, Joe? Because when one of your players plays so well and the team still manages to lose, sometimes that causes a little bit of friction, right, among the players. Like, how do you handle that situation?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to, in that situation, Doa, of just being able to go back home and talk about that game and break it down on what went well for you. Gunnar was clearly the star player of this game. So how can you look at Gunnar and say, how do we build around this performance and convert the next one into a winning half or a winning game? It's about continuing to find ways to enable your young players, because this is a young team all overall.
Right.
They don't have the experience yet, and they're going to get that over time. So they need to be able to look at this loss and say, here's the positives out of this. How do we want to continue doing those things? But then also look at the negatives and say, these are 1 or 2 key negatives that we want to take away. So how do we go into scrims now and start to work on those and action them and coming up with clear action items so you can say, this is how we're going to improve. And if we don't see improvement, we got to try something else. But you action that in scrims based off of the positivity of a performance like this.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, all the pieces are there, you just didn't put them quite together the right way this time around. But they're there for next time. We'll see if Parabellum is able to dig back, I don't know, that's a new phrase. Dig out of the grave that they were put in by Beastcoast there, we'll put it that way, in that particular map and get back into a possible run for Berlin. Meanwhile, Beastcoast 3 in a row now. They are certainly doing quite well. But the day isn't done. Not by a long stretch. We have 4 more maps to go. It's going to be XSET taking on TSM when we come back. That is going to be a great map, so don't go anywhere. Rainbow Six North American League returns right after this.